The Perception Story. Part 4. A Perception of Poison. By Adam Soul.
Something that's not tangible, yet changes the behavior of a life, causing it to destroy its own environment and not leave life for its offspring, can be defined as a poison.
Chapter 15. Why Money is a Poison.
In the context of this story, the word poison is not a bad word. Instead, it's a word that leads to life. It's like the following analogy.
Analogy of the Starship Enterprise.
The Starship Enterprise is a fictitious spaceship that carries its passengers and crew safely through space, much like the Earth does for us. The captain and crew watch over the passengers and maintain the many systems of the galactic vessel. Everything seems to be going well as the journey continues unabated. Then one day everyone on the ship suddenly begins to act strange. First, people hint around that money can be made by selling items on the ship. Other people quickly join in because a feeling of euphoria comes when items are sold. Before long, the compulsion to sell becomes so strong that some crew members begin dismantling the air filter system. Even the captain joins in. People tear apart the docking mechanisms and then the potable water supply. Anyone outside of the ship could easily see that everyone on board had gone crazy. Yet no one aboard realized that anything was wrong. Everyone thought the behavior was normal. Soon the Enterprise was rendered helpless. The passengers then blamed the captain and crew because they thought they were causing the ship's failures, probably on purpose. Then the captain and crew blamed the passengers for the same things. The situation became dire. Just before all was lost, however, a lab technician wandered down into the galley while looking for items to sell. The technician discovered that a poison had contaminated the food supply. When the poison was reported, the captain ordered the immediate decontamination of the food supply. The effects of the poison wore off, and everyone on board the ship began to see clearly once again. Then they saw what they'd done, and began the process of restoration. Soon the Starship Enterprise was back on its journey through space.
Our behavior is not normal.
Today, our world faces a rapidly approaching darkness. Civilization has been warned for at least 50 years to change, or the children of the world won't have a sustainable future. Our response has been to not change. Not changing for our children is abnormal behavior. Destroying our own environment is also abnormal behavior because it's the same as destroying ourselves. These are signs of illness. The technician found a poison. Something is making us sick.
Money is making us sick.
When we grow up, we learn how to survive by making money. We learn that the more money we make, the better our survival will be. This gives us the perception that our survival depends on money. This is a false perception, however, because we know that our survival truly depends on nature. Our survival depends on things like clean water and clean air, the process of photosynthesis, bugs, bees, and things like this. But because we have the false perception that our survival depends on money, then we will do whatever's necessary to make money so that we can survive. Doing what's necessary includes robbing, cheating, stealing, taking advantage of, destroying nature, and doing whatever we have to in order to make money. Money is therefore making us sick.
At the top of the hierarchy is a poison.
Statistics show that the top 10% holds 85% of the world's wealth, while the bottom 50% holds 1% of the world's wealth. This imbalance gives an extreme dominance of power towards the 10%. We call them psychotic because it appears that they use their dominance to selfishly benefit themselves. This appearance, however, is an illusion because it causes our eyes to focus on them instead of the real problem, which is the poison. We focus our blame on them because we think they're building a life that's unsustainable. But they're not doing it. The poison is. No one seems to realize this, but unsustainable life doesn't benefit them or anyone. They're trapped just like all of us are. The poison does this because that's how poisons work. No healthy person will destroy themselves. Someone who's sick from the effects of this poison, however, will destroy themselves. And this is where we all are.
No one gets to choose the womb they're born from.
We don't get to choose whether we're born in wealth or poverty, male or female. We don't get to choose our religion or our race, or even if we're born human or some other species. We don't get to choose other people's lives either. We don't get to choose, for example, who we sit next to in grammar school. We could sit next to someone who gets straight A's. That someone may have been born into a home with parents who helped them study, do their homework, etc., while your parents may not have helped you. Later in life, you have surgery and then get the bill. The amount shocks you. Exorbitant prices have been charged because the insurance companies must pay their stockholders. The person that you sat next to in grammar school may have been able to afford those medical insurance types of stocks. They gain from your pain. They languish while you lose your home. Why? Do they deserve a better life than you? Does anyone get to choose the womb they're born from?
Who rules the world?
It's said that corporations rule the world. If this is true, then the question becomes, who rules corporations? Because whoever rules corporations could then be considered as the ruler of the world. Corporations have to make money or they won't survive. One would think that a CEO would be the ruler, but the CEO is restrained to ensure that the corporation makes money. Even though some decisions might include free gratis types of things, the bottom line is that all decisions are ultimately made for the purpose of making money. The board of directors is essentially bound by the same rules. All the stockholders really care about is whether the stock goes up or down. The ruler is the main decider, and since all decisions are ultimately made to make money, then the ruler is money. This is basically the same for all for-profit corporations. Money, therefore, rules the world, and money is not a living thing.
More poison means more risk.
Let's use a child born in wealth as an example, and say that the child had been pressured to become like its parents. The parents might have said, "You've been given the tools, now go out and use them. Be somebody." Then the child goes out and seeks its own gold mine. The gold mine could be legitimate, however, it could also be a risk, such as building a nuclear power plant, an insecticide factory, or developing an AI. Today, each generation seeks its own gold mine in an ever-increasing competitive world. The risks keep going up, and all of it is done for the purpose of making money.
Greed.
When money is gained, a feeling of euphoria overcomes. Like the drug heroin, money contains the euphoria. The euphoria creates a craving that's insatiable. The craving promotes the selfish instinct. Today we call this selfish instinct greed.
Depression.
Likewise, when money is lost, a feeling of depression overcomes. Both the feeling of depression and euphoria add up to a powerful control over the human psyche.
The way we think.
Someone recently said to me,
"The pursuit of money is the single biggest driving force in human nature, as fear of poverty is second only to the fear of death."
When they said this, however, they must have been referring to human nature in civilization. Because remember, for the 300,000 years prior to the comet, our Homo sapien species didn't use money, nor have the concept of work or poverty.
Money set up our institutions.
Governments, religions, educational institutions, and essentially all of the public life have been set up to ensure the flow of money. Notice that the educational systems are designed around the world of economics. Notice also that religions all over the world have been established only since civilization began. The histories we're taught in grammar school generally go back only as far as our religions.
Everything must be accounted for.
Now the world of money has advanced so far that almost everything we do must be accounted for, if not paid for too. In order to keep up, we have to keep track of almost everything. Life has become intolerable.
Slavery.
Before the comet, humans didn't have the concept of work. After the comet, however, civilization was established as a hierarchy that humans have worked under ever since. Humans add the power of intelligence. Exploiting this power began with slaves. Slaves, however, have to be forced. Paid workers, on the other hand, don't have to be forced nearly as much. And if the system is set up just right, then force isn't required at all. And the hierarchical ladder climbs to the pinnacle of riches, not to the pinnacle of life. Today, slavery is called work for pay.
Chapter 16. How the poison works. The puzzle explanation.
Humans are represented by the pieces of the puzzle. The pieces are all different, yet all the same. And when they fit together, they form the picture of humanity's life. The poison of money, however, essentially lays a grid over the top of us. The grid says that everyone must fit into it. Some fit better than others. Terry, for example, fits well. So does Renee. They could be CEOs, politicians, hospital administrators, or someone like that. Carla, however, is heavily divided. She could be a homeless person or someone scrounging for life in a third world country. Just like no one gets to choose the womb they're born from, neither does anyone get to choose where they land under the grid.
How the poison is transferred.
We normally think of poisons as substances transferred by physical means, such as venom from a snake bite. But poisons can be transferred in many ways. A person with epilepsy, for example, can be put into a seizure by a fluttering television. A virus can waft through a forest and kill only one type of tree. The uniqueness of that tree also makes it vulnerable. Likewise, the poison of money is transferred through the unique channels of our Homo sapiens intelligence.
How the poison takes advantage.
There are many examples for how the poison takes advantage, but perhaps the biggest one is war. Let me explain. We learn to love those that we grow up with. We learn to be loyal, not only to our people, but also to our religious beliefs. We also grow up learning that our survival depends on money. People then look for all kinds of ways to make money. People then become vulnerable because lies can pit one side against another for the purpose of making money. War then ensues, and it doesn't matter that no one gets to choose the life they're born into. The fierceness of both sides steps forward, and then money is made from the bloodshed. Our ancestors before the comet grew up loving their people, which could have made them vulnerable to loyalties. They would not, however, have been vulnerable to beliefs, because they wouldn't have had any. Instead, our ancestors accepted that there were many things they didn't know, and probably never would. Instead of defending something they didn't know, they simply held perceptions. Perceptions don't have to be defended because they don't have to be true.
Perceptions cannot be taken advantage of. Perceptions are like this.
Two clans that don't know each other live on opposite shorelines of an ocean. Both clans experience a tsunami about every 4 generations. Neither clan knows why the tsunami occurs. Both clans, however, want to prevent future generations from curiously following the receding waters. One clan makes a perception story about a giant clam that sucks in the seawater. When the storyteller tells the story, the listeners learn that when they see the water receding rapidly from the shoreline, Then they're to run for high ground as fast as they can. The clan on the opposite shoreline makes its own perception story. One day, several members of the Clam clan go on a journey. They make a boat and sail across the ocean to the other clan. They then tell the other clan about their own perception story. The other clan laughs and says that the story is different than theirs, but its meaning is still the same. Both perception stories have effectively passed on the wisdom of how to be safe in a tsunami. The moral of the story is that with perceptions there is no war, no conflict, and no hard feelings. Perceptions don't have to be defended, and therefore are not taken advantage of by the poison of money.
No proof.
So far, I've not found any evidence that research has been conducted about the potential that money is a literal poison to our Homo sapien species. I have found brain scan studies, however, that do show that money incites the same neural pathways as do heavy drugs such as cocaine. Whether money is a real poison or not may be something that we'll never know for a fact. Letting ourselves have the perception that money is a poison, however, opens our eyes.
The manual.
When we look for solutions, we essentially open up the climate change manual and begin troubleshooting. When we see that the troubleshooting doesn't provide solutions, then we know that something is wrong. When we look again, we see that all the solutions have been designed to work with money. We see, for example, that the carbon tax solution cannot be implemented because of its potential harm to the economy. We see that changing how we live, refreezing the Arctic, or virtually any solution, likewise can't be implemented because of money. Then this video comes along and says that the reason is because money is a poison. We don't think it's possible to live without money. But since the manual we've been following doesn't give workable solutions, and because our children must have a sustainable future, then some of us will decide to follow the manual called The Plan for a Sustainable Tomorrow, which is on the other playlist of this channel. The Plan for a Sustainable Tomorrow is where solutions are designed to work without money. This is Adam Soul. Thank you for listening.